few minutes. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna go ahead and begin. My name is Joaquin Camarena. Sino Talk. So I understand that I've been pushing this off for the past 3 days now, but considering that there's a lot to talk about, I felt it was warranted, especially with some of the events going on in, not only in Australia, but also in Oceania as well as in Southeast Asia as well. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with our fan favorite, China, or China, as it's called. So the PLA released just today, or yesterday, I should say, the internal affairs of the PLA. It is divided into 12 chapters that explains different aspects of PLA life, or for people who PLA soldiers or officers. Uh, that range from how to wear the uniform and when to wear the uniform, as well as to reporting to leaders and non-direct supervisors. So I may make a post about that because it has some really interesting aspects to show that, despite them being a Communist Party element or army of the Communist Party of China, they still have to abide by all the aspects that we will find similar in the West, such as uniform regulation, height and weight regulations, standards, things such as that. So it would be interesting to see for people to read the regulations, as to say. So going into Beijing. So speaking of the Chinese Communist Party, the Politburo gave reports to Xi Jinping and others of the Politburo about the years of work for the work of the Politburo for the past year, I should say. So what that really means is that it's the prelude to the two sessions that will occur next month, I believe on March 4th or 5th. So the two sessions is when China's People's Congress, National People's Congress, as well as the Consultative People Political Conference are in session at the same time, and they on paper they put forward ideas or recommendations for what the NPC should enact, but in reality, it's all smoke and mirrors. The NPC's agenda, the laws have already been preordained by the Politburo or the Standing Committee of the CCP, and all they would do is just vote or as an act as a show, if you will, to say that yes, we voted on this. Yes, we have democracy. It's not United States or Western democracy, but it's a Chinese style democracy. So I may be doing daily reports on the two sessions. I haven't decided upon that yet. It would depend a lot on what I would need to. It would depend upon a lot of what comes out of the two sessions, as well as timing and everything like that. And then going down to Shanghai, that great, magnificent city. So the Fujin is back in port, and they were conducting tests um, with its um, electromagnetic catapult system. Doesn't too out of the ordinary. That one, it came back after its most recent sea trial, and now they're just testing the catapult to see if it's okay. Maybe may indicate that they're still trying to fine tune it, or they're trying to remove all the bugs, if you will. So going to the Korean Peninsula first off, Bad Korea, otherwise known as North Korea. So the main thing I wanted to point out on this one is that Kim Jong Un, North Korean leader, visited Kim Il Sung University as well as the Kang Kong Military Academy. He visited the university on Monday, and then he visited the military academy on Tuesday, I believe, or if not Wednesday. So I've seen a lot of reporting on this that misrepresented the visit. Um, some said that, oh well, he visited Kim Il Sung University. It's where the commissars actually get taught, and how the military commanders gets get taught as well. That's not really the case. Kim Il Sung University would be considered the commissars university. That's where most of the Korean People's Army commissars actually get trained at, and then the military academy is where the regular military officers would receive their training. So think of it as well. There's nothing similar in the Western system for Kim Il Sung, but for King Khan military academy, think of it as any of the military colleges, West Point, Air Force Academy, Annapolis. So really, it's just him. But what was really significant is what was said during during his visit. Kim actually put forth political ideology during his visit at the university, saying that military officers, military commissars has to be ideologically pure and have to be able to espouse belief in the Korean Workers' Party, aka communism, or Stalinism, I should say. And then on the flip side, at the military academy, he urged the students to actually learn how to conduct modern warfare effectively. And so these 2 points that he mentioned indicate that they are actually learning and taking in lessons from their military's experience in Ukraine, specifically in the cursed region of Russia, in which ideology saying that, oh, you need to abide by the government's and the party's rulings and uh, edicts, aka don't get captured by Ukrainian military. If you have to, kill yourself. Just restoring, and also just to reiterate the loyalty within for the party, but also for Kim as well. And then for the military academy comments, it shows that they understand that they're not that good at fighting a modern war. In fact, some of the Ukrainian military officers actually pointed this out, that say they would actually be good if they were fighting a war in the 1980s. So realistically, they're fighting a war 40 years old, or fighting in war fighting styles that are 40 years old. And so this will so it indicates that Kim, as well as the senior leadership, understands that they have a pretty far learning curve ahead of them in terms of understanding how to conduct warfare in the 21st century, let alone the 20th century. And then going down south to South Korea, there's West Korea. So a lot of stuff to talk about in South Korea, unfortunately. So going big picture, the unification ministry that still exists believes that North Korea will increase military activities this year. We kind of have already seen that with them building a frigate, a destroyer on either side of Nampo, on either side of the country, and that's essentially due to Russian assistance that they received after providing them with 11,000 soldiers. And so not only that, but they also believe that North Korea will continue testing its missiles, maybe perhaps even put up another satellite or two, so that they can actually achieve the goal outlined by Kim to say is we need to put up at least 3 spy satellites by the end of 2025 or 26. And then for South Korean military, they will test a new generative AI system during the exercise Freedom Shield that is set to occur next month. Now, one thing to point out about this AI is that it hasn't learned from being given classified information. It actually was given, largely, if not only unclassified information that's found on the web. So it will be interesting to see how it interacts, especially since the South Korean military plans to use it for a lot of administrative purposes, a lot of logistical purposes as well, just to see if they can offload the burden and to increase their productivity due to decreasing manpower. And then going down south to Busan, South Korea unveiled its prototype self-lower wingman prototype as a prelude at the drone forum that began today in Busan. The drone system, or the system, is broadly similar to other lower wingman systems that are being tested by United States, China, Russia, and and others. And so it would be interesting to see how it goes, how it performs, and how it proceeds in testing, especially since South Korea is developing I would say it's small, but extremely robust and extremely effective aircraft manufacturing base that saw the production, or the soon-to-be production, of the KF-21 4.5 stealth fighter, as well as the F-50 lead-in fighter, or lead-in trainer slash light attack aircraft. So, going to politics, guys. Be talking about 2 trials. The first one is going to be not about Yoon. I'll get to that in a few minutes or a few seconds. So, South Korean prosecutors demand a 2-year prison term for opposition leader Lee Jae-moon. And I know I mentioned the significance of his trial previously on not only on some podcasts, but on but on previous live streams as well. If they were to actually get any type of prison sentence for Lee, I should say, that will disqualify him from ever holding political office ever. And so he's the opposition leader, in which a lot of people see him as being the Democratic Party main presidential candidate. So if he does get a prison sentence, that will harm the DP's chances of getting reelected, especially if Yoon were to get reinstated as president. Speaking of Yoon, he gave a statement on the last hearing for his on his trial at the Constitutional Court, whether or not he'll be removed as president or be reinstated as president. And during his statement, he apologized for the confusion and inconvenience caused by the martial law. However, in the same statement, and I want to say it was after this, after the confusion and inconvenience apology, he said that he will revise the Constitution so that it can have 2 terms if he is reinstated. Of course, he will be allowed. Of course, that will also apply to him, because why not? And I know the Constitutional Court will actually come to a agreement, or come to a settlement in mid-March regarding whether or not to reinstate or remove Yoon. And I want to say that statement regarding revising the Constitution, it kind of doesn't help him out. Well, not kind of, it doesn't help him out, because realistically, a lot of the allegations regarding him being treason, regarding his impeachment, regarding his current trial, is about him going against the Constitution, about him essentially being undemocratic or unconstitutional, and him saying that is not a good sign. I'm pretty certain his lawyers were kind of cringing at whenever he read the statement or spoke. So it'll be so the decision will be very interesting to see when it comes out in mid-March. So going to Japan, guys. Going to a little political, going to Tokyo, going to get some ramen, go talk about some politics. So the current LDP / Komeito minority government and the Japan Innovation Party agreed on a budget today, and one of the sticking points was whether or not to allow for free high school for all Japanese high school students, or Japanese children of high school age, let's just say. And so that was a sticking point between and getting the budget passed. The LDP and the Komeito Party, initially didn't want to do it as a total, as providing free high school to all high school age children, but they needed help from at least the Japanese Innovation Party, so that they can actually pass the budget. And then also, it didn't help that the Japanese Innovation Party actually ran on free high school and free assistance to the Japanese parents, or Japanese fathers and mothers, as part of their campaign. So realistically, it was a win for Japan, for the Japanese Innovation Party. And it shows that, despite them being a relatively new party, they have the ability to get a lot of their initiatives passed and to deliver on a lot of their election promises. And forgive me for that soup salad, guys. For that word salad, I should say. Going to defense. So Japan and the Philippine defense ministers agreed to establish a high-level dialogue framework for exporting defense equipment from Japan to Philippines. Now, what this means is that we're not going to be seeing, Type 12 anti-ship cruise missiles or shorter ship missiles systems in the Philippine Army or Philippine Marine Corps, but we will likely see Japan and the Philippines increase support on more non-lethal equipment. So, such as radars, such as patrol boats, maybe even some Coast Guard cutters, especially since that will be able to, especially since those two types of boats would be highly beneficial with their ongoing dispute with China in the South China Sea. Okay, guys, going to Taiwan. So, just today, China began a live fire exercise in southern Taiwan in this area, I believe. Realistically, this live fire exercise likely was due to a lot of interactions Taiwan had with U.S. officials, as well as the U.S. officials coming out and saying that, hey, we're going to continue to support Taiwan, as well as the recent rewording of the State Department website to remove "we do not" or the United States does not support independence, quote unquote, independence of Taiwan. And of note, the mainland, China's office, the mainland, the Taiwan Affairs Office. Forgive me, I had to think about it. I was gonna call it the MAC, Mainland Affairs Council. That's actually the Taiwanese name, but it's the TAO, the Taiwan Affairs Office. Actually came out and held a press conference where they said a lot of stuff regarding the United States changing the wording, providing Taiwan with weapons, with a purported weapons deal, as well as them, talking against Marco Rubio's statements regarding Taiwan, talking down. And so this little live fire exercise was likely a response to all those incidences. And so we're not going to see any, major war break out, guys. I apologize. I know that's a big thing now that, like, oh my god, any little thing right here or in the Taiwan Strait will lead to a Taiwan Strait conflict, but that's not the case. Neither side wants it. When I say neither side, I mean China, Taiwan, and the United States don't want it. And then the United States had to remove Taiwan from the Cobra Gold announcement regarding the. Forgive me, let me rephrase. The United States military had to remove Taiwan from their announcement regarding the beginning of Cobra Gold exercise in Thailand. That was a little slip up. It wasn't supposed to be there. It was a PAO is probably getting in a lot of trouble actually, for that little mishap. So I'm not going to discuss anything further about that. Beyond that, the last thing I do want to talk about is it came out from a former Japanese ambassador to Paraguay that he said that China attempted to push Paraguay to renege diplomatic recognition of Taiwan for China in return for COVID-19 vaccines. Of course, this happened during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, where every country was in a mad rush to try to get a either medical supplies or a COVID vaccine to inoculate or protect their population. However, China saw this and actually used this to their end as well, and as this case, and in this case, Paraguay. So this shows you how long China has been trying to court, quote unquote, Paraguay for it to change sides. So a lot of these instances will continue. It's not going to stop because China wants to eventually remove all 12 remaining diplomatic allies of Taiwan to where it cannot be considered a country, if you will, quote unquote, as I say. So going to the Philippines. So the Philippines Senate is beginning preparations for the impeachment of Sara Duterte, the current vice president. I mentioned in previous live streams about how she's beginning impeached because of a lot of allegations of corruption, but then also of her reported attempts to not reported attempts, but reported saying that she has a she ordered her officials to kill the current president, his wife, and several others if she were to somehow get assassinated. So that will more likely begin either in mid July, if not earlier. So in other news, the Philippine Army and Navy have launched countermeasures after a reported database hack. This comes after a February 22nd acknowledgement of, or let me restart. This comes after a deep web conic group, a hacking group, released a statement saying that they conducted a breach and they stole sensitive personnel and operational data of military personnel on February 22nd. It's no surprise that happened. If it did happen, I should say. The Philippine military, as well as the Philippines as a whole, they don't have the best cybersecurity measures in place. This is actually something that the United States, Australia, Japan, and other allies or other potential allies could help them immensely with, especially since it's not going to stop. It probably only get worse. So going to Vietnam, I know we haven't talked about Vietnam. I think this is the first time actually. So Vietnam issued 14 new points in its baseline. So essentially all around here, all along its northern coastline from Haiphong, I believe, down to just a little bit before Dong Hai. And China responded like it always does, and conducted a live fire exercise in this area to show that, hey, we do not appreciate you issuing out new baselines. That's our tactic. You need to abide by, international law. Do as we say. Do as we say, and don't do as we do, if you will. Essentially, just them saying that despite issuing these baselines, we can still operate in the Gulf of Baihao if we want to. The Chinese name for the Gulf of Tonkin. And then going to diplomatic, Vietnam and New Zealand signed a comprehensive strategic partnership. So this is significant because New Zealand joined one of 10 nations, I believe, that actually have a comparable, that actually have the same agreement. Amongst them is China, United States, France, I believe, Australia, and so it just shows you that Vietnam understands the significance of these agreements and trying to balance them out amongst bigger allies, as well as to try to gain more leverage in its relationships with those big countries such as China and the United States. So going to Cambodia, guys. So the France ambassador for the country, he met with Cambodian, officials over the killing of the exiled politician I mentioned in January. He wanted an update. He said that he wants to make sure that the investigation is still ongoing, which Cambodian authorities said it is. We still have a lot of we're still conducting it. We have possible suspects. Cue that scene in Batman Returns or The Dark Knight, where they have the where they have a Bigfoot, Elvis Presley, and other photos of people who are supposedly still alive and other mythical figures on a board that says who is the Batman. Guys, I apologize. It's one of those things where it's kind of obvious that the Cambodian government, if not the current political party, had something to do with it. If not directly, if then indirectly, to where they're shielding the individuals from justice. But anyways, so going on to Thailand. So Thai authorities are likely preparing to send 48 Uyghurs back to China. This news emerged just today, in which video showing a detention truck is backing up against the detention center where those 48 Uyghurs are being held. Another thing is that the doors are now closed, which usually isn't a good sign, considering that they're always open, as well as the Thai Prime Minister actually went to China and discussed, more likely, where they discussed the 48 Uyghurs. Needless to say, guys, if they do get sent back, they will probably be imprisoned in the re-education camps. I believe all the females have already been either sent on to other countries for resettlement or back to China. But if there are any females in that group, then they will more likely be, sent off to be married to Han Chinese. So, regardless of what happens, it will more likely not be a good thing for the 48 Uyghurs. So, going on to the ongoing crackdown against scam centers along the Thai Myanmar border, the Thai Prime Minister Patagon Sinawapa will visit the Thai Myanmar border to check the progress on the operation. Now, the operation includes shutting down all links, whether it be utilities, electricity, Wi-Fi, internet access, SIM card access, as well as preventing any fuel from going across the border into Myanmar. But then also checking on to see if the former captives who are repatriated to Taiwan, to Thailand from Myanmar are being processed, as well as being sent back to their respective countries. Now the in processing is conducted by both Myanmar, I should say the junta, as well as Burma, the Karen border guards groups that are, quote unquote, helping this endeavor, this operation. And so, and then on the other side, the Thai authorities, as well as the Chinese authorities, are conducting their own process as well, in which a lot of issues have came up with the fact that the Thai government is allowing the Chinese to come in and essentially run the show, and the Thai government was essentially, hands off, in which, that changed obviously because of a lot of the pushback that it received. So it will likely continue until all the Chinese citizens are returned back to either back to China or face charges, if they even do have any charges, in Thailand. And then going to Myanmar. So the junta is in the process of sending several thousand workers to Russia. They actually met either today or yesterday, where they were actually agreed upon the process to do so. So it just shows you that the workers, that these agreements that they have with that the junta has with Russia, as well as with China, or Iran, Belarus, etc., that it benefits them. It benefits both sides. So that Myanmar gets access to currency and other goods, and Russia gets workers to prop up their failing economy, or to replace the workers that have been sent to fight in the Ukraine conflict. And then something else I wanted to point out is that the first picture, I should say, of the junta using paragliders or paramotors. Forgive me, I use paragliders. Have emerged either, I want to say today. So it just shows you that, it just gives you evidence that the junta is using paramotors to actually conduct military operations, whether it be bombings, resupply, reinforcement, and it just shows you how far their logistical capabilities have fallen, to where they actually have to conduct these type of operations using that sort of technology. And then finally, going to Rakhine State. So the Akin army and its PDF allies have begun encircling the capital of Sitwe, to where they will now likely commence the battle to take it, either within the next few days or weeks. So they've been actually encircling the city for a long time, but it just seems that now they're getting to the point to where they're now going to actually be able to enter some of the outlying districts of it. So expect a lot of news that comes out of this regarding the conflict, the ramp up. And so if they do capture this city of Sitwe, then it will be the first state capital to fall to opposition forces in the Civil War. So going to South Asia, guys. So going to Bangladesh. So the student movement has launched or I should say, a section of the student movement launched a new organization um, after a protest um, to get their leader admitted into a local faction in the capital city of Dhaka failed. This occurred in a university, and the news organization stated they will blockade the entire city or a large section of it if the new committee is not dissolved by Friday. So this whole tussle comes at a time when the interim government is trying to get a hold of the student movement, of the various factions that make up it. Um, this will not help. This will obviously not help their ability to do that. And in fact, I wouldn't be too surprised if it comes out that the chief advisor of the Bangladeshi government actually steps in and say, "Hey, can we talk about this? Can we come to some sort of agreement to where you're not blockading all of Dhaka?" So speaking of the chief advisor, he came out and said that new elections will be held by the end of the year. So more likely will be held by December of this year. So going to Nepal, guys. It's an odd country we have barely talked about. I shouldn't say odd country, but we haven't really talked about it. So, we haven't really talked about it. So, Nepal, a National Assembly member, he advised the former king, because Nepal used to be a kingdom before abolishing the monarchy in the late 2000s, that if he wants to return to power, then he should form a political party and run for PM. That was after the king made comments about how the people that the people need to have a symbol or an individual to look to for guidance, aka him. And so that kind of, I was expecting a more forceful reaction from the Nepalese political parties, but I guess this is something where they kind of view him as a non-threat, and how little supporting probably has amongst the people that views it as, they probably view it as, we could just warn him nonchalantly to say, hey, if you want to return to power, form your own political party, instead of gelling him on treason, or putting out a more forceful reaction. And then going to the Maldives, guys. I'm talking about this of late for the same reason, actually. So a disputed denial of services notice attack halted the token system for tuna distribution for the upcoming Ramadan. And so, as I mentioned earlier in previous live streams, the Maldives is very sensitive to food prices, and so this was the government's way of trying to get ahead of that by handing out tuna cases of tuna cans to families throughout the Maldives, so they can have something to eat on Ramadan, so they don't have to go out and fight people, and they don't have to be at the mercy of price gouging or price increases. However, the notice attack halted it temporarily, I should say. It came back online, and it came from what was said, the distribution is still ongoing. So India, guys, not much to talk about here. An Indian Army delegation evaluated the Jaguar armored vehicle, and during their visit to Paris or visited France. However, I wanted to point it out is that the reason why I want to point this out is because it came as a French delegation led by the chief of staff, I believe, the French chief of staff, Valerie Pinka MRL system during their visit. So it shows you how significant or how serious their defense, the defense, their defense relationship is, guys, between India and France. How they're evaluating each other's systems to where they can probably buy or produce them under license. Especially as France is looking to replace their MRL systems that they currently use. Now, they wanted to go indigenous, produce something made in France. However, they kind of view it as too expensive at the moment, and so they're looking at acquiring off-the-shelf designs. So the Pinka, the HIMARS, and other similar multi MRL systems. However, France may be extremely hesitant to buy something American, considering that Trump is in office now, and so this is why they're evaluating the Pinka system, or at least thinking about it. And then more into France and India defense relationship or defense negotiations. Both sides finalized negotiations for a potential €7 billion Raphael M deal. So this deal has been ongoing for some time. I want to say since 2000. I want to say the mid 2010s at least, as well as, and it caused a lot of controversy on both sides. But one thing to note is that the Indian military actually chose the Austria air-to-air missile, their indigenously made missile or system, over the Mica one. So, irregardless if it does succeed, we will, irregardless of how many Raphaels India plans to buy, those Raphaels will be firing Astra missiles. And then finally, the Pinka, India is beginning to test the Pinka naval variant of the MRL systems. Now, this is going to be extremely different from the land-based variant, in that it's going to be tailored to conduct underwater / submarine warfare operations in warfare. And the reason why is because they probably view their current anti-submarine systems as being too reliant on Russia and other countries. And so they figured that this would be a good way to lessen that to a degree. So going to Oceania, guys. It's almost done. So, People Liberation Army Navy ships have been operating in Australia's EZ. I know this has been a big thing in the news as well as ocean accounts as well. And currently they are operating off the coast of Tasmania. So these ops actually cause a lot of issues between, with not only Australia but also New Zealand as well, especially since they conduct a live fire exercise in the Tasman Sea that caused a lot of planes to have to move out of the way on very short notice. In fact, the naval ships didn't tell them that they were conducting a live fire exercise until they were receiving radio calls to vacate the area. However, this actually did have some good outcomes to it, though. So New Zealand actually said that the military exercises show that it needs to significantly increase the defense spending. And on the flip side, Australia, the exercise showed that Australia needs to really be serious of becoming a maritime power. Now, what that means is that, from the case of New Zealand, they would have to actually rejuvenate their military again, i.e., significantly increase defense spending, regain a fighter capability, significantly increase their naval capabilities beyond the nine or 10 vessels they currently have, in order to actually regain an adequate defense capability. And on the flip side, Australia would have to really assess upon what they really need, because they already are in AUKUS, but they're going to have to decide: is AUKUS, is the Virginia class submarines / AUKUS submarines, will they be enough to provide us with the necessary maritime projection power? And I think we're going to see Australia actually increase their emphasis on buying a lot of frigates and as well as destroyers. And I know they have some. They actually are looking into buying or producing Japanese destroyers under license, and they may actually look at that more seriously now. So going to the Cook Islands. Let's see if I can find. There you go, Cook Islands. So the Cook Islands, they recently held a no confidence vote against the current PM. It failed. The opposition knew it was going to fail. However, they wanted to use it to send a message to the PM saying that we're unhappy with you with a lot of issues. However, you signing this agreement with China and not consulting us is the final straw. The PM, and so the PM, when he was talking about the no confidence vote, he also accused New Zealand media of thinking of the Cook Island population as dumb, quote unquote. Let me find this one quote. Brown actually said this: they obviously don't have an understanding of our situation here. The understanding that each of our islands is owned by the people. It's not owned by the government, and it's up to them, and they decide what takes place on our islands. That's ironic, given that there was no discussion, even amongst the Cook Islanders themselves, about the agreement that he signed with China. So it's kind of almost in a way condescending, saying that saying to New Zealand that, hey, you don't know how it works down here. We consult on things amongst us, when Brown's government didn't even consult the opposition about the agreement with China. And then going to New Zealand, the New Zealand PM, he visited China and met with Wang Yi, Hong Jin, as well as Lu Jinchao, as well as alumni from New Zealand universities, as well as ambassadors from other Oceania countries. Now, the PM, he mentioned that he was going to talk to, Chinese officials, specifically Wang Yi, about, the exercise that occurred here, that occurred in Tasman Sea, as well as the Cook Islands Agreement, as well as other issues between them as well. However, New Zealand is talking from a position of a lesser power, because of how significant their economy how significant their economy is based upon Chinese trade or trade with China, I should say. And so while the New Zealand PM wants to sound tough, that he's going to tell them, hey, could you please stop this, or talk tough to them. He understands that he's kind of held in between what he can do and what is possible. He wants to do and what is possible. And then going to Samoa, guys. We're almost done here, guys. We had another no confidence vote, and I know I talked about this issue in last week's live stream. However, the vote failed, like in Cook Islands. However, it was kind of interesting how it failed actually. So the current party, FAST, they all pulled together and voted down the opposition table vote by a tune of 34 against and 15 approve. And so it just shows you that, despite the ongoing political issues between the current prime minister and the FAST political party, which she formerly belonged to or still does, it just shows you that, they understand that any, issues that may arise from this shouldn't affect the country itself. And so they need to keep the parliament for the Samoan people and not for the FAST or not for the opposition party, or not for the factions that now make up the FAST party. And then talking about the New Zealand naval ship Manawawi. So the salvage company that the New Zealand Defense Force tasked with clearing, removing the fuel and other pollutants, they will also clear the weapons, ammunition, equipment, debris from the sunken warship after the remaining fuel is removed. So there's been some disagreement there has been some issues regarding if New Zealand has been completed. Actually has completed the removal of the fuel. I know I mentioned previously that they did. It looks like they didn't, so I apologize for that. However, the fuel should be removed within the next few weeks because of the inclement weather is preventing them from actually finishing the removal process. And then from there, you're going to see the salvage company remove the weapons, the ammunition, the equipment, and debris. And then from there, they're going to the New Zealand government as well as the Samoan government is going to decide what exactly is going to happen to the vessel. Are they going to raise it up? Are they going to leave it there? So the saga of the Malawani is not complete yet. So going to going to New Caledonia, guys. So pro and anti-independence politicians met with the minister for overseas presiding. The meeting was focused upon which method they will use for talks that will occur later in the week. This is an ongoing issue between both sides. Obviously, the pro-independence party is dominated by the indigenous Kanaki, and the anti-independence or pro-French is dominated by by white French. And so it just shows you that, despite the cessation of unrest that occurred in May 2024, there's still a lot of issues that still need to be talked about, especially regarding the political future of New Caledonia. And then last one, guys, I know I previously talked about this in the last live stream, but the French carrier Charles de Gaulle and the Japanese and a Japanese carrier, Haiga class carrier, I should say, and the U.S. Carl Vinson carrier group conducted a joint exercise in the Philippine Sea. And so that comes as part of the not Philippine, as France's Le Cassasou exercise, involving the Charles de Gaulle, where they sent it to, all across the Indo-Pacific, to India, to Malaysia, Strait of Malacca, the Philippines, where they conducted its first operation with the Philippine Navy, and then right here with in the Philippine Sea with that joint exercise with the Japan and the United States. And it just shows you that the newfound importance that the Indo-Pacific region has to France now, because even the France stated that we haven't really sent the Charles de Gaulle here in a long time, despite us having significant interest in the Pacific Island region, because especially with New Caledonia is a overseas dependency, and then we have French Polynesia as well. So they do have a lot of significant. So they do have a lot of interest here, and it was interesting to see how the region reacted to the French carrier deployment, especially with China. China didn't look too fondly upon it because they're saying that its presence here is causing a lot of issues, causing a lot of increased tension within the region, in which it's kind of laughable considering that a lot of the increased tensions usually is a result of China conducting a lot of aggressive actions itself. So, but anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for the for this live stream. Thank you. I know I said this is gonna be going back on track on Sundays, but a lot of stuff occurred and I couldn't get to it on Sunday. But it actually worked out better on that end, because there was a lot of interesting stuff that I wanted to talk to you about that happened between Monday and today within the region. So if you like this video, comment, and subscribe. If you do have any questions, go ahead and put it in the comment section below, and I will get to them as soon as possible.